Alright, this video is going to be a little bit of a longer one, but it's simply showing you that there's multiple approaches to creating the exact same part. Up here is the part that we're trying to create. It's one of the parts off of your activity. Realistically, if you guys can draw this part, you have a solid understanding of the extrude feature, whether it's adding or subtracting material. If you look at how I went about constructing this part, or this example, in my browser here, I've got 4 separate extrusions. The first 3 were additive extrusions. I was adding material to my part. So I started with that bottom rectangular prism, added that chunk of material there, added that chunk, and then cut that last little bit out. That creates the part. All of my dimensioning is correct. Another approach to this part would be to start with this right side and extrude it back the 4.5. That gives me a majority of my part here, and then all I have to do is cut out this little rectangle up top. And so if I draw my rectangle, go ahead and dimension it, and I just happen to know the dimensions off the top of my head, I can extrude cut that out. And now I've completed this part with simply 2 extrusions. I will say, for this part, that's the bare minimum. I'm going to have at least 2 extrusions to complete this part. But there are still multiple ways of going about completing this part with simply 2 extrusions. If I start with this sketch, extrude at 4.5, that represents this bottom section of the part. And then what I can do is actually create a sketch off the back where I would have that portion. And I didn't dimension there, but you get the idea. You guys understand how to dimension. So in this case, I simply used 2 additive processes. This final version is actually pretty advanced stuff. This sketch represents the same sketch that I started with in this example, but what I'm actually going to do is add this edge that I would see if I was doing, say, a multi-view, 2-dimensional multi-view of this part. I would see this edge in a right side view of this part. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my extrude feature. For my first time, I'm going to actually select both profiles. I'm going to choose for this to go back. And if you notice in my distance, it says 4.5 minus 2.5. What that represents is the overall length of this part minus this section. And actually, that's incorrect. I just want 2.5 for this section. Alright, this back section is what is 2.5 inches long. I'm going to say OK. In my browser, I'm going to go to the extrusion that was just created. I'm going to hit the little plus mark and find that original sketch. If I right-click on it and select visibility, I can now use this same sketch for a second extrusion. And the second extrusion is that 4.5 minus 2.5. And this time, I just need to make sure that the direction is coming forward. So again, I did this one with 2 extrusions, which is the bare minimum, but this time I only needed to create 1 sketch, which is pretty advanced stuff.